Welcome to the show. It's deep with the twist. We're laughing through the scriptures where humor coexists. Cultural, come on and take a seat. It's faithful and it's fun wherever it meets feet. Dive into the stories, hear the podcast call. It's more mixed stuff with a smile in the cultural hall.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall. It is an Articles of News episode. We haven't done it for a while. I was taking my once-a-year vacation, and the vacation's over. Back to work, people. Back to work. Joined by One Chain, old T-Dubs, TW One Chain. Ooh, I kind of like that. TW1. I don't know. Like their last name is One Chain. Forget it. I don't want to get caught on the nickname thing. Great to see you. First episode that you've done since we did our live show. Tell me about your experience, how you liked the live show.
That was so much fun. It was you expressed like a fear during the live show of like how many, like, is just no one going to show up? And like I kind of had the same thought. Like sometimes it doesn't feel real when all of the interaction is digital. It's like, is anyone actually listening to this thing? But people showed up. I had some family there, which was great. We got to have some great conversations. So yeah, I had a great time, and it was like 2 blocks away from my apartment, which was nice of you guys to.
Well, that's why we did it. That's why we did that. Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Welcome. Gas prices, right? So we got to do, close to folks. I want to apologize to you. Because I fancy myself to be a pretty good interviewer, and while we were chatting with you at the live episode, 2 things were brought up, and I wanted to pull the thread, as they say, but couldn't because it wasn't the time, nor was it the place for what we were doing. And then since then went on vacation, and then since then, and you had to go to the bathroom for 75 minutes, and that's why this has taken so long to get this episode started. It's fine.
They didn't know that it was taking a while to get the episode started.
Listen,
didn't need to add that.
No, but from someone that's a year or 2 older than you, fiber. Get in the habit of drinking water and eating fiber now, so that it does not take as long as it took to get you on this episode. Here are the 2 things that I want to ask you about. One, your dad was like, "Oh, hey, pal, are you going to start your own podcast thing?" And I wanted to find out more about that. Are you thinking about doing that?
So this is like an idea I had thrown around in the past. It's one that my dad has also thrown around in the past, doing his own. When I was married, we, my ex-wife and I, we talked about starting a podcast called Mixed Feelings, I think was the name.
Okay.
We had talked about and it was kind of a myriad of reasons. Like, so we were an interracial couple. We were both mixed race, and we generally on most like political and social issues and things like that, like kind of found ourselves kind of somewhere in the middle. So yeah, that was kind of the idea, but it wasn't anything that like was seriously discussed. It was kind of like an idea. So, but yeah, I don't know. So it's not in any like serious works to do that right now, but
okay.
It was an idea.
Because I'm loyal to you, but at the second that you do another show, you're out. I just want you to know that that it's gone like that. Thou shalt have no other shows before thee.
Right.
Here.
Because there's no other co-hosts that have podcasts, right?
Correct. Mixed Feelings is a great name. I hope you have that either purchased or trademarked or something, because someone else will nab that right now. That's too bad.
Well, too late.
Yeah, you have until this episode publishes, which will likely be tomorrow-ish or something.
Tomorrow. Okay, yeah, plenty of time.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about is this comedy, stand-up comedy. You were on a singles comedy thing. We got to unpack that, but very slightly, and I need to know more about that.
Yeah, so dating is going great, as you can tell, because I decided to go on a live dating show. Really what it was,
sarcastic, not actually going great.
What's that? Yes.
So dating, yeah. No,
it's not terrible. It depends. It depends on the day, really.
Careful, because if she's being supportive and listening to you right now, and you're like, it's not going that great, she'll be like, well, what do you mean? You can't say that it's going great, so just be very careful.
Gotcha. I'll choose my words carefully.
Yep.
But yeah, I love stand-up comedy. I mentioned briefly to you that in one of our first conversation, I mentioned to you that I've always wanted to do stand-up. And I saw that they were so anyone who lives in the Salt Lake area knows Wise Guys. They've expanded a little bit. Ogden, West Jordan, now Las Vegas.
Yep.
But they were putting on a show called Love Laugh Live.
Mhm.
So you'll see him all over TikTok and Reels, these dating shows that they're doing at comedy shows where there's different variations of it. But basically, the one that I was in, there was one bachelorette
Mhm.
and five bachelors, and we went through rounds of elimination until she picked one person. It was kind of a janky setup where she didn't come out until two people and had already been eliminated, and then she was blindfolded and picked one of us while blindfolded, and didn't get to see the winner until after she had chosen.
So
So the
like
whole
this
thing was
Love is Blind, like dating game, like
like Bachelorette slash yeah, Love is Blind. My
okay.
opening joke when I did my stand up set was that I felt like I was on the Temu version of the Bachelorette. So, but so yeah, basically it started off. The first round was like a talent presentation. So one guy played the guitar, another guy did a magic trick, one guy folded a napkin into a rose.
Okay.
Fun.
Yeah.
And then I just decided, I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to do stand up. So I don't know if it counts as a talent because I'd never done it before, but I did it
Mhm.
and it didn't go terribly.
Yeah.
So,
So this was at a comedy club.
yes.
So the comedy then was coming from just gentlemen flailing or falling all over themselves and this lady and her responses. Yes.
So the host of the show is a local stand-up comedian here. His name is Trey Lamb. I'll shout him out. He's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And so he hosts the show. So he opened the show with like, I don't know, maybe 7-8 minutes of stand-up. And then he had kind of like a sidekick, another stand-up comedian local here in Salt Lake, helping him out. So they're chiming in throughout the show. But the show itself was not like your traditional stand-up show that you would see at Wise Guys. But
Okay.
yeah.
You know, going through, just as a quick aside, the guy who founded Wise Guys, Keith Stubbs is his name, one of the earliest episodes of the Cultural Hall, as we're going and getting episodes prepared for the Cultural Hall Vault, which will be where we unveil or reveal, I guess, our oldest episodes as we come towards 1,000. I think he was episode like 20 or something like that.
Wow. I recently went back onto the website to listen to the episode with Jim Gaffigan because I had no idea that you had done an episode with Jim
Oh, yeah.
Gaffigan.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right around
and then
Christmas time.
I couldn't find it in on Spotify where I normally listen. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for this vault.
Yeah, you have to go. You have to go to the Wayback Machine, as the kids would call it. If you want to help out with that, contact at theculturalhall.com is how you can be involved. It'll be like 6 people. Episode will be shared. Ooh, this part that you said, Richie, might be problematic, or I'm not sure how we feel about this. I've grown in the 15 years that we've been around, and so I just want to get another set of ears on stuff so that I can make sure that we're good to go. But look forward to that. So did you end up with the girl?
No.
No.
She
Jokes weren't that
one of the so there's 5 guys, right? 4
Uh-huh.
of us happen to be wearing the same outfit essentially. We're all wearing white shirts and light pants. And then there's Brent. And
Sure.
then there's Brent.
Sure.
And Brent is a 6'1", 6'2", just ripped to shreds,
Yeah.
tatted up, like tattoos and all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, some people don't like tattoos, but he was a good looking dude, and we all kind of. And she didn't even see him, but he had all the pre-prepared little charisma lines.
Oh
and
yeah,
things
she
that-
didn't see him, I'm sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Brent won, but made some good friends of it. Met some ladies after the show that stuck around for a little mingle after. So
I want to know, would you be willing to be a best DJ in Utah roadie?
yeah, absolutely.
Because here's the thing, I got to figure out a place for you so that it's not very obviously what it is. But it is highly likely that I am going to be doing a Singles Ward Relief Society party for the holidays, and I mean, it doesn't give me advantage at all. I get the monetary compensation. You can get the eternal compensation if I can figure
My
out a way.
man.
You come, and it's a short thing, and it's in December, and we can come up with a little bit. I don't know, something. If you're interested,
My man Richie, always looking
Yeah.
out for me.
Listen.
I'm there.
because at least you're coming out during the holiday season. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about that would be like, do you want, like, when you look at your life and you're doing the travel agency thing and all that, would you would you be all about like, hey, I'm hitting the road now for 300 out of the 365 days of the year, and I'm gonna go be slinging some jokes at people? Or are you like, nah, it's fun, it's a challenge, it gets me the butterflies in my stomach?
Oh man, I think I need to at least go to one real open mic before I even allow myself to go there. But like, obviously, if it worked and it was something I could become really good at, like, I'll take it as far as I can go. I mean, look, if I'm touring doing comedy, I'm dropping the travel agency
Sure.
on a dime. No doubts there. But obviously, I don't know what the percentage of comedians that end up actually making it in that regard, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's very high. But if it just turns into a hobby, something I do every month or so here at Wise Guys, great.
Sure.
If
You asked about the percentage. It's 0.0025 that go from just an open mic to making any sort of living off of it.
perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
I like my odds.
Not impossible. And lots of people here in Utah, members of the church, that even do it too. Michael Berkland, one of our early guests. Again, these are all teasing episodes of The Vault. He was in Singles Ward and RM, I think. He got his start in doing stand-up comedy with Wise Guys. Redhead kid that I can't remember his name. He was my intern and then was a professor at UVU, and now he does it full-time. I can't think of what his name is. Steve Solberg, the infamous episode of the favorite part of his face is his eyes. LDS guy here in Utah, comedian. And old what's-his-name was just in town the other day. The guy who reminds me so much of Jerry Seinfeld, but isn't. He's an LDS guy, single, lives out in New York. I can't think of his name. Maybe he's not LDS anymore. Now I feel bad that I'm saying this and I don't actually know that, but I'm pretty sure he is. Why can't I think of Ryan Hamilton is his name. Member of the church. Oh, yes, you do. Look it up.
Maybe.
Look it up when we're
Okay.
done. So yeah, let me tell you this. I was sitting in my worship service today, and I got a Facebook message from someone in the Monument Valley ward, which, if you don't know, that's down by like the Four Corners area. And she said to me, I just don't want to identify anyway who this person is. Said to me, "Hey, here's one for you." And I said, "Yes, please tell me about this." He says, "We're getting sacrament 10 minutes late." And I said, "Oh my gosh, sacrament 10 minutes late? Why? What happened?" He said, "Well, we didn't have any sacrament cups. And so I'm not sure how the bishop had them available, but 10 minutes into the meeting and we're doing sacrament out of plastic shot glasses." And I just chuckled at that. I think that because it doesn't matter. It's taking the sacrament, right? It's the symbology of what you're doing. It's not the fact that the glass would otherwise be used for alcohol or something like that. So kudos, Monument Valley, and that bishop thinking so quickly.
That's hilarious. I don't
Yeah.
even. Have you seen those like tiny little red Solo cup
Sure.
shot glasses? That's like double trouble. It's like frat guy red Solo cup plus the shot glasses. I'd love to see that in sacrament next week. I'm gonna let my bishop know about that.
Yeah, well, I feel like as a bishop, you have to have something. Like, I feel like growing up, I always remember in the freezer at the church, there was the ancient loaf of bread. The bread loaf that had been there for years and years and years that no one really wanted to touch, but was there in case someone forgot to bring bread for the sacrament. And I feel like similarly, you have to have something because what's the other option? What's the other alternative? I came to partake of the sacrament, and I'm not throwing shame if this were to happen, but like that's like it. The old joke: you had one job. You literally had one job, was to gather the saints and provide the sacrament to people. So I feel like you have to have something, in the back pocket to go. Yeah, here, take this. Let's do it this way.
Could you just like fill a pitcher with water and just pour it into everyone's mouths as you?
Yeah. Well, you joke, but we used to do the same glass thing. Mormons used to do the same. Oh, are you kidding me? We used to gobble it and pass it down the thing. 100%.
This
For a long time. For 100 years. Probably.
in like, are you talking in your? No, well, not, so okay. So
in my lifetime, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's perfect.
You said we, so
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were
We,
including yourself in the
we,
we.
not me
Yeah.
specific we.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, not while I've been alive. No, we've We
Who knows how long that is?
although I will say, and I don't think that they have these anymore. I don't think that you probably have ever had the misfortune of a paper sacrament cup. Have you ever had that before?
Yes.
Oh, it just, and I know again, string me up for heresy that I would rather have it out of a shot glass than a paper sacrament cup. But when the water tastes different because it has been over an hour in paper, it's a different sort of it's like a spiritual challenge, right? It's like I double dare you to be able to focus on atoning for your or repenting of your sins rather than how terrible this water tastes right now. So there's that.
I think you should invite those spiritual challenges into your life, Richie.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, you like challenges in your life? Is that you want more challenges in yours too? Would that be helpful
Absolutely.
for you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I am not even going to joke around about that. I am fine with the amount of challenges that are in my life. I don't need any additional ones. Let me see if there is anything else that you feel like we need to talk about, things post live show. I will say I'm working to try and get another live show on the books. I did in fact get some headphones so that the next time we do a live show, people will be able to hear and we don't have to worry about that nearly as much. Oh, well, no, I'll tell people about that another time. I had a guest that came to town, a long time listener of the Cultural Hall. So I'll do that in the next Articles of News episode. Here we go. Let's go here. From this email, contact@theculturalhall.com. Oh, never mind. That's a temple thing. We'll talk about that with the Pharaoh. So we're doing a new software to record this, so we actually don't really take a break. We just plow right through. So let's pretend like we're taking a break right now, and we'll come back in the second half of Articles of News, and we'll do actual Articles of News.
Looking for a gift that's meaningful and unique? Discover the artistry of Latter-day 3D Studio, where we 3D print exquisitely detailed temple magnets, Christmas ornaments, temple ties, and more. Each item is meticulously crafted layer by layer to bring the spirit of the temple into your home. These creations make ideal gifts for baptisms, ordinations, or birthdays in primary, young women, or relief society. Visit LatterdayThreeDStudio.com and find the temple that inspires you. Latter-day 3D Studio, where faith meets craftsmanship.
Let me take just a moment to tell you all about bestdjinutah.com. That is the website where you can learn all about me. Oh, sure, you probably feel like you know me, but you know me in the Cultural Hall sense. I have a DJ company, now 6 of us strong, great event hosts, MCs, and DJs that can be able to make whatever event you have coming up absolutely spectacular, and hope you will reach out to us. Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Richie, I don't live in Utah. Would you travel? Absolutely, I would travel. Would they travel? Absolutely, they would travel. Whatever your event is, doesn't have to be a wedding or a community event. We can do all sorts of things. I can teach you line dancing. I can dance with you. We can do partner dancing. We can do all kinds of things, but we can't do any of it if you don't hit me up. You can go to bestdjinutah.com. You can fill out the form to get more information or get a quote, and then I will get right back to you. Find out why I'm so busy and why sometimes we don't get episodes of the Cultural Hall. It's all because of bestdjinutah.com. Here in the second half of Articles of News, we do actual Articles of News, but first, I ask, will you please hit it, Peter?
You can't lose Articles of News.
And away we go. You prepared some news stories that you would like to do. I am prepared to comment on each of those, or all of those, or none of those. I have to turn the light on, so I would love it if you would tell me which story you would like to do first.
Yeah, I think as has been told to us by a listener, they'd like us to hit the important stuff at the beginning. So I don't think this has been talked about yet on the show, but we have our new apostle.
Yes.
Elder Gerald Caussé.
Which makes me recognize I was wrong. I'll admit it. I was a Dubé. I was pushing for the Dubé and I didn't get it.
See, I told you, this is just like what I said at the live show. You say these things with the utmost confidence, and they are often, actually, I'd say you have a pretty good record of being correct about these things. But
and he's coming.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you struck out with the first presidency and the new apostle, but it's okay.
Listen, yeah, who's keeping track? Thanks a lot.
I am. I think it's kind of funny that I feel like we don't really learn much about these general authorities that have been in the church that have been in, high positions within the church for so long until they become an apostle, because there's all these things about Elder Cosse that I had no idea about.
You mean like the piano player?
Yes. What?
Yeah. How awesome is that?
So his first calling in the church was when he was 12 years old. He was the primary pianist, the piano player in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
But later in life, he literally hit #1 on Billboard's classical chart when he partnered up with, let's see, who was it with?
Julisti. It's a name that's Nicholas Julist or something. I don't know how to say it.
Something like that. Yeah. What? For just a collection of classical hymns that he played on the piano. I want to look up some videos of him playing the piano. Apparently it's out there, but I had zero idea about that.
Yeah, it's a thing they did in collaboration with Deseret Book and with the church. So it's been since he's been, I believe, the presiding bishop of the church. So it's beautiful. They shot it what looks like in either the assembly hall or the tabernacle on Temple Square. And it sort of breaks my heart a little bit because I kind of wanted it to be him doing like dun 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 dun, right? Like LDS Living promotes this whole, and he's a great pianist, and can you believe all the work that and then it ends up being that. But he is very talented, tremendously talented, and to your point, #1 on the Billboard for a little bit.
I would love to see that incorporated in some way, maybe some devotional he does or videos that he does where he plays the piano. I think that would be really cool. They shared a little bit more information about him. His parents were from Algeria, Northern Africa, which was like a French colony at the time. But still, and then they moved to Bordeaux, France, which is where he was born. And then his parents joined the church when he was about 5 months old and were baptized in a collapsible swimming pool because the facilities of the church in France at the time were minimal. So yeah, very cool. So convert family, but him basically born into the church. And he said that he has always, he said, I have always said yes to the Lord. That was in reference to that first calling he received at 12 years old and never looked back. So I'm really excited to learn more about him because so far just the first 2 things I've learned about him are pretty fascinating.
Yeah, he also was, I believe, worked in the grocery world before he became.
Yeah, he was like the managing director for France's largest food distributor. I don't know what company that is, but
so equivalent of like Kroger or something like that here in the United States. So a huge deal, very accomplished as far as that goes. And then for the last 7-8 years has run the Corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because that's what the presiding bishop does. So all of sort of the financial affairs as far as that goes. So a multi-billion-dollar entity as well. Just a tremendously sharp individual. My favorite thing that I've learned about him, and I knew about it before, but you also see this with the appointment of the new presiding bishop. Very, 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 very environmentally conscious. So to whatever that is, I think that's exciting. And then the other thing, I heard this, I can't remember where, but talking about how with him being a French speaker and the amount of growth in the church in Africa, especially among, like you mentioned, Algeria, there are other countries that were occupied, owned, whatever we want to call, by France or French, whatever, speaking countries. An opportunity for Elder Cosse to go down there, speak in their native tongue, and help the mission work in Africa, where so much growth is going on right now. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's a very interesting. I hadn't even really considered that, but that is true. I mean, I know how much it means to members of the church, for example, down in South America, to hear Elder Christofferson, President Nelson speak in their native language. So now to have an apostle that is a non-native English speaker it's a whole new opportunity to connect even more to those people. So
sure,
very cool.
Sure, and don't leave out Elder Suarez and all that. Now, granted, it's Portuguese, not Spanish, but he able to speak that way. Don't forget my Elder Suarez.
Sorry. I saw him in Peru actually this year. So I should have. Yeah, he was down at the Tabernacle Choir performance in the national stadium of Peru, and I was there. It was really cool.
Elder Suarez, hey, Elder Suarez, it's me. Hey,
He was
look,
very far away. I did see Mitt Romney from very.
one chain. Look, it's me.
Are we assuming that the Elder Suarez listens to this podcast?
Yes.
All right, then I will be more careful with what I say.
Are you not assuming that? Yeah. I think that's cool. I'm excited about it. I was saddened to know that I wasn't correct, because anytime I can gloat about being correct, to your point, I love it. But I wasn't. I was not correct.
Well, next time an apostle dies, I know you'll be excited to be ready.
Hey, come on, back it up. Back it up. Although I 100% will not be excited about the death of an apostle, but at the opportunity to be accurate about my next apostle pick. Which, to me, I think this was one of the stories. I got to double check what you sent me now. Rolling back. It wasn't, but I want to talk about it. The first presidency message is going to be recorded this year. It is not a live, you can go downtown to Temple Square, you can go to the conference center and see that message. It was already recorded on the set of, at the conference center, the church does a play essentially about Jesus's life, a musical production about Jesus's life, and it was apparently recorded there. My speculation, it's the health of the first presidency.
Yeah.
You know, President Oaks, who is great and who I affirm to be the prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, called of God, very shaky hands in general conference, and they bring it tight on him so you can't see it. But if you look at his right hand, it is very, very shaky. Elder Eyring, they purposefully go away from him when he's going up to the front, and he was seated, unless I remember incorrectly.
I believe so.
Yeah. So it's just too hard.
Yeah.
Too hard
So
on him.
I've been curious to know, like, for example, with President Nelson's last few remarks in the last few years of his life, you know, I wonder, is it just they're ready to record it, and then on a day where he feels more energy and more able to, he's like, hey guys, today's the day we're recording it. So I wonder if it's a similar thing and I wonder how it being pre-recorded, like, does that affect your desire to watch the Christmas address at all? Like, knowing it was recorded back in the beginning of November, like maybe it has a little, maybe that's wrong of me to say, I don't know, it feels like it's not actually Christmas. It was,
Yeah. I mean, I like an event. I like to go down and I get bundled up, and back in the day when we used to have Christmas lights on Temple Square, which apparently will return a little bit when that actually all gets opened up, and there'll probably be some this year, but not nearly like it was when I was a kid. Like, there's something event filled about that for me. But the other thing that I don't like about it is if it's already recorded, it's available, now. Let's make that thing available. I want to watch it now. Don't make me wait until the 7th of December to be able to see the first presidency Christmas message. Let me watch it on Thanksgiving when I'm putting up my Christmas tree or whatever the thing may be.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I don't know. I wonder if that'll be kind of the norm for many other types of devotionals and addresses. Probably not devotionals, because usually or oftentimes there's, people present for the recording and such. But
Sure.
And do you think that this Christmas, like, I would assume they're just not addressing anyone live? I don't think they hosted anyone there. It's just a recorded.
Yeah. So part of me thinks health, and part of me just thinks that Elder Oaks, and maybe I'm attributing far too much to this, but I just think that Elder Oaks is like, do we need to do this? Let's not do this. Let's focus on Christ. Let's do these other things, and let's not do this way. Not that he doesn't love Christmas or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm sure that he loves Christmas quite a bit. But, anything that's sort of a distraction or a deviation or something like that, taking temples out of general conference, all this, like, I can see him just being like, let's record it, and you can watch it and be with the thing, and and do it that way. I don't know. I like an event. I like an event, so I hope we get to continue to have events.
Yeah, I feel the same. I'm glad you brought that one up, because I kind of forgot to include it in the list, but that was one that was interesting to me. The next article that really caught my eye is because it's about something that I'm very interested in. It's about artificial intelligence. This is Elder Gong, basically making some statements about artificial intelligence, the church's use of it, maybe down the road what kind of uses we could have for it, some warnings about it, and some counsel on how we should implement it into our lives. It talked about how he drew some pretty. I liked the wording it used in the article was like bright lines on things that we will and will not do, or should not do with AI. And so he was very clear about the church's use of AI imagery, and that anytime the church does use AI to produce any images, there will be clear statements about it. We talked about this a little bit of, I don't know, something like 6 months ago.
Because he's spoken on this before, where he just basically, when he talked about it before, was like, I don't know, beware a little bit, right? It was sort of like
but then they had different people from different departments in the church kind of explain like what they are using and testing AI for. They talked about the feature that is now active in the Gospel Library app for being able to search for things. And in this article, it talked about how many, I think it was 900,000 conversations that the LDS bot within the church's apps has been used, and that 90% of those queries were very sincere questions about faith and doctrine and things like that. So, because I think some people have concerns that like it's going to be trained on the responses from people, and so people could, maybe use it nefariously. But you can train AIs on whatever you want. So you can have it gain memory from its conversations with people, or you can have it not do that. So, but it was interesting. So he did point out that and draw that bright line that the church will not use AI ever to produce imagery of deity, so of Heavenly Father or Jesus Christ. And I think that's important.
Or Heavenly Mother. Shh.
Let me just mute. And I think that'll be like a comforting thing for a lot of people, because I don't know how much it would bother me necessarily if I saw an image and then knew it was AI, but it could be a little, I don't know, that feels like a gray area that could get a little weird if we go down that route.
The imagery thing to me, I get it. I'm glad for a stance. I'm glad to know clearly. But I guess where humans can be influenced by the Spirit and an AI app or whatever cannot be influenced that way. There's no difference otherwise. It's someone going, I think God probably looks like this. And then it's just ones and zeros thinking, well, God maybe looks like this. So that in some ways, I'm grateful to know that it is a person, heartfelt, able to be led by the Spirit towards a particular thing that AI wouldn't be able to do. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, it's all sort of, and I don't want to be crude about this, but it's all kind of guessing or like impressions or we think or interpretation. So, I'm...
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think they just want to make that clear line of like, we're not going to represent God with AI. I thought it was kind of funny that he felt the need to say this, but maybe people have the question, but he pointed out that conference talks will never be. I love the idea of, Elder Uchtdorf using ChatGPT to actually, okay, maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I did, when I first started using ChatGPT, I was kind of testing just what it could do. And I asked it to write a talk about prayer in the tone and voice of Elder Uchtdorf, not voice as in like audio, but
sure.
And it spit out a talk that, reading it, like it could very easily have been, it had the my dear brothers and sisters, my dear friends line that he always uses.
Sure.
It talked about aviation, like it very well could have been something from Elder Uchtdorf. So I guess it's worth mentioning that they don't intend to do that. And he also gave us counsel to avoid the use of it in preparing lessons and preparing talks and things like that. So
yeah. I'll out and out admit it. Like for lessons for me, I run it through and say, prepare a lesson based on this talk. Mm-hmm. And then I go, oh, are they missing parts? I don't really feel inclined towards this particular thing. What do I feel about that? I don't really know this, that, and the other. I 100% will do that. And then I do a thing that I know drives, a good 25% of the elders and my elders quorum crazy. I look under and online under other Christian denominations' definitions of things because I like a different perspective. And then finally, I kind of come back around to the talk. It's a different experience. If you ever get the chance, you're more than welcome to come and worship with me. And I've actually thought about this for 2026, trying to think of some fun things because we'll be past 1,000 episodes. Throwing this out here, and I don't know that this is really the great audience to do this because I imagine people that listen to this, at least in some form or fashion, are still sort of in church, but maybe not. If you have wanted to come back to church or you struggle coming back to church, come and sit with me or tell me and I'll go and sit with you in 2026. I'd like to do that because my wife doesn't come to church with me. A lot of times I'm just sort of seated by myself. I would love to be able to sit with someone that didn't feel like they could do it alone. So you're more than welcome to reach out, contact at theculturehall.com, and I can tell you I'm a 9 a.m. churcher in the new year, so probably we'll go to your ward wherever you're at, but would love to do that because I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. I'm blessed with being in a YSA ward where we are eternally 11 a.m.
Yeah.
sacrament.
Lucky. You wait till you get married. It's the worst part. Church times change.
Been there, done that. That's why I got divorced. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That is not why I got
Like
divorced.
the marriage was great otherwise, but seriously, we couldn't. Every 3 years, we had to keep getting up at 9 a.m. and doing that. Let's see. So the do you feel like if 10 is, oh my gosh, I'm so knowledgeable about AI, and 1 is, oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. Where do you feel like you personally land?
Like a 7 or 8.
Okay. Yeah.
I really like learning about AI, specifically like in this article I mentioned artificial general intelligence. Are you familiar with that?
No, what is that?
So basically,
I'm generally not intelligent is essentially what you've just told me, but that's fine. I'll take it.
So artificial general intelligence essentially means the point at which AI will meet human intelligence and then it will almost instantaneously surpass human intelligence. So
Okay.
as of right now, most AI, it's trained on human produced things. And so by that logic, it can't really surpass human capabilities because it's only trained on what we do and what we have done. But then there's Q learning where, for a very rudimentary example of it is, you don't teach AI how to play chess by having it watch, the best chess master in the world. You just teach AI the rules of chess and have it play itself 1 billion times. And then it will eventually become, and we've already seen AI beat chess masters, but
Sure.
just in that same sense of like, if AI can essentially produce its own data in order to continue learning, eventually it won't need what humans produce to continue learning. And so that's when AI will essentially be able to somewhere down the line, take over every industry in the world and basically run the world. So Elder Gong referred to it in saying, even if we reach artificial, or even when we reach artificial general intelligence, it will not be God. It is not God, so on and so forth. Because some people say that that's really the only God that can exist is when we achieve artificial general intelligence.
Okay. I understood about half of what you say, so I'm like a 3. So that's great. That's great.
Okay.
I've got plenty to learn. What I wish, maybe this exists a little bit. I know it does in some realms of things, but like if there was like an artificial intelligence person in my stake, I would love it if it's like, hey guys, Sunday, probably not Sunday, Tuesday at the church, there's going to be an hour-long thing about artificial intelligence. We're going to walk through this. We're going to teach you Gemini. Come on in and we're going to walk through that, right? Free, one time. It's not a forever calling, right? We do some of that stuff with like resumes and employment, and we do some of that with like financial things. I would sort of love it if we could expand that, and I think it would become a missionary tool if we could just be like, hey, it's Tuesday teaching at the Stake Center, right? Religion's not allowed to be a part of it, but it's just like, we're teaching you ironing. Probably have to be something more than ironing, otherwise that's a long hour, but like taking care of clothes properly, how to don socks, how to or darn socks, right? Darn socks, is that what
Yeah,
it's called?
donning them is putting
Darning.
them on. We
Yeah.
could do a class on that as well, though.
Yeah, we could say, the difference between darn and don. Sure, that could be an hour as well. Like we could have lots of these just little things that we attract some people, but it's not for everyone. But the people that are coming for just that little thing are very fed and go, oh, I appreciate that. Do they convert? Probably not. But they go, oh, these people at this building are making lives better for people.
Yeah. I think that one, might be a little controversial because some people are very, very against the use of AI.
Okay, well,
This brings up a question I've been meaning to ask you. I feel like we've never touched on the new music for the cultural hall. Like, is that AI?
of course it
Or
is. Of
okay, I
course.
figured so, but I feel
Yeah.
like we never, all of a sudden there were these new songs, and I was like, wait a minute, we never
Yeah.
talked about this.
Yeah, and if people, thank you for bringing this up, contact at theculturalhall.com. If you are someone that, either pays for the subscription or likes to play around or whatever, and you want to submit a song for, the Cultural Hall articles of news episodes, it could be something that we had a particular song depending on who the news co-host was. I don't know. I'm open to any of that, and in the spirit of Elder Gong, if you want to make it, you're a musician and you don't want to use AI, and you'd also like to submit, I would love that as well. For the longest time, we just used the Book of Mormon stories by the band The Solutions, which I still put on the interview episodes a small portion of, and I may go back to that after 1,000. Maybe all bets are off, but when the AI music really came on, I was like, this is so cool. It's different things. And then I didn't go back and think about it again. So I don't know. If you come up with one, though, contact at theculturalhall.com. I would love to hear, I hope it's not too on the nose and stereotypical, but like a 90s hip hop Taylor One Chain co-host articles of news. Let's go.
I think
I
that
am
would be
all
great.
about that. I'm all about that. One chain.
One chain.
Chain. I don't know.
That would be
I like
cool. I would very much love that. I don't really care what the other co-host songs are. I just want a really cool hip hop intro
Just
for
to
me.
be clear,
Yes.
don't care. No, because then you have like the wizardy kind of music for Verlin, right? And you
Yeah,
have
it's my favorite genre, wizardy.
fantastical. Vroom, 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 vroom. He's a wizard, right? And then you get like the maybe do a little an attribution to the Bengals and walk like an Egyptian for the Pharaoh. It's some sort of thing like that, or maybe it's I don't know. Molly the Ash. Listen, possibilities are endless. I'm not going through everyone. But you can do it. Contact at theculturalhall.com. I welcome that. Other news stories which you have, sir. Let's go here. The safety protocols following the Michigan shooting. Church handbook. You can get it on your phone. It's not the secret thing that it used to be. Will let you know that they do not appreciate it. Even policemen off duty to bring your weapons into a church building. With the horrible, horrific shooting and burning of the building in Michigan at the end of September, which is crazy to think that's already almost been 2 months. This a little while back, the church said, hey, I know that we're probably all inclined to protect ourselves this way, but please and thank you, don't bring your guns to church. People are bringing guns to church. So is it a liability issue that we just have to say, hey, don't bring them? Is it we don't want to have to deal with an accidental something? Are we going to see security in the church? I think that I think it needs to be more secure, and some areas of the church are doing some security things.
Yeah. I wonder if possibly because some wards I've seen, like if there's an issue with someone who comes around the building and is harassing people, maybe the elders quorum assigns like, hey, Elder Smith, on this Sunday you're not in class, you're patrolling and so if on top of that, the church made a very said, hey, guns are fine, then do some wards end up with scheduling like, hey, Brother Smith, when it's your Sunday, make sure you bring your gun and that feels weird. So I think, I don't think we can be ignorant and say like, oh yeah, nobody's bringing their gun to, like, I think many people are, concealed carrying, but, many studies, not all, there's some studies that show no correlation. This was mentioned in this article that we're referencing, but, typically the studies show like the less guns there are present, the less deaths occur. That doesn't mean that, if somebody were able to protect themselves, that they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But just in general, filling the building with guns is not necessarily going to limit the amount of deaths that occur.
Well, there was a shooting at a church in Nevada, Henderson, maybe somewhere in the Valley Fire. I can't remember. It's a previous episode of this here, The Cultural Hall, where in fact, let me get the number because people are going to want to look at this. This will be in the show notes. But we talked to a guy who was at the building when there was a shooting in Fallon, Nevada. This is episode number 281 of the Cultural Hall. And he talks about how there were people in the building that had guns and still someone came in and was pissed and started shooting, right? So
Yeah.
I know we've talked about Vegas somewhere that there was a guy who came in and like started showing himself to people in a church. And I know in that ward and in that stake, what they do is there's one door for coming in.
Mhm.
And so they have people by that one door so they don't have to have all the doors. They lock all the other doors. They have signs and they say, hey, if you want to come in, visitors are welcome, but please come through this door so they can monitor the folks that are coming in. Other places I know that there are like elders quorum who walk out during sacrament meeting, you know, every about 10 minutes or so and kind of survey the parking lot and, you know, check around the doors, make sure things are going, and they're able to listen via their Zoom, their ward Zoom to make sure that they don't miss anything. And I just think it's unfortunate, but I also think it almost seems irresponsible not to do some level of increase of security, or at very least to be aware more than we presently are. I was sitting in my ward today and I thought, you know, what am I going to do if someone came in this room right now? What does that look like? Who am I looking to help? What if there was this kind of thing? And in my particular ward, you know, it's unfortunate. I think there's a lot of older people. I don't think that they've even thought about it, and I don't know what the carnage would be because it doesn't feel anyway like we're that aware that something like that could happen, and yet it has and does.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because you don't want to panic people. Like, you
Sure.
know, I think certainly the church could, you know, maybe not worldwide, but in certain areas could have, you know, hired security on duty. Do we want like 2 armed guards at every door? You know, that would feel it would feel a little weird going into church on those days. But for me as a kid, it was more. I don't mean to make light of this, but I would always imagine like something catastrophic happening, and that's how I realized that I have superpowers and I'm able to to save the ward. You know, that's what I would doze off and think about when I was in the sacrament as a deacon. But yeah, it's a tricky thing. I don't know. Do you do like a drill? Do you come up with some kind of plan as a ward? You know, maybe what's the calling? You know, we have the calling about like emergency preparedness and so on. Maybe that's a thing that is implemented as well. Some kind of plan of how to respond in that kind of situation in sacrament. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's at least worth a discussion. So
sure.
hopefully, you know, our discussion prompts other discussions for people to just be like, you know, I would appreciate the heck out of that of a fifth Sunday. Hey, fifth Sunday, we're just going to talk about safety. Do people feel safe? I don't feel safe. Why don't you feel safe? Well, because of this. I do feel safe. Well, why is that? And just to be able to facilitate a discussion, because I don't think it's a blanket thing. Maybe it needs to be in some respects, but I think it could very much be just like an open discussion. Hey, how are we feeling about this? Because it also gives you a chance to sort of address and process the horrible, you know, the horrible thing for Michigan as well as anywhere else that's happening in the world. I think more conversation rather than less is what I would appreciate, especially about that.
I agree.
All right. Yeah, we got let's go to having fewer children, shall we? You're a single gentleman. You're gonna have to get after it if you get married again. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, so it's an interesting article because I don't know, some parts of it made me feel a certain type of way, but essentially, as birth rates have declined in the United States, the church's has declined with it. Obviously, the church's birth rate is still higher than the national average, but it has essentially dropped at the same or a similar rate. For example, in 2008, demographer Stephen Cranny shared that LDS women aged 18 to 45 had 70% of them had at least one child at home, whereas in 2022 that dropped to 59%, so an 11% decrease there. So mirroring the broader trends of the nation. And you know, there are a lot of things that can lead to this, a decline in religious beliefs,
Sure.
an increase in housing costs, and just general life is expensive overall. And then there was an interesting perspective about like just a feeling of like less community than there used to be. Like that people who are having kids nowadays don't really feel that. They feel like the community around them is still encouraging them to have children. You know, maybe the Relief Society president still bugs you every Sunday about why you don't have
And when
any
are you
kids yet.
guys gonna have kids, huh?
Yeah. But then maybe that Relief Society wouldn't be as willing as maybe, 20, 30 years ago to come bring meals and do all these things. So I don't know what has caused that community shift, or maybe that's just a perceived shift, but maybe we do still have that community structure, but it was interesting. And they interviewed a couple.
It also too is just infertility. The rate of infertility among women because of like microplastics and different things that affect the fertility of both men and women. I mean, that is increasing as well as we continue to neglect taking care of the planet and ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not all just like agency of choice around like, I could have kids, but I'm not gonna. It also is sort of put upon us a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, they interviewed a couple.
And but I think there's also just kind of like a shift in how we view things, because a couple from my hometown, from Bountiful, I didn't recognize their names. I don't think I know them, but they talked about how I believe they have 2 kids and have decided to stop, and that people at church would ask them like, well, are you going to have more? And as we're nosy. And it was interesting. It seems like there has been kind of a sentiment that like the more kids you have, the more like family oriented you are. Or the more you value the blessing of having children. And I just don't think that's true. Like you can be just as dedicated to your 2 children as someone else can be to their 5, and neither one is good, bad, right, or wrong,
Yeah.
And so I think that's a little bit of a shift in that thought, is like someone who loves kids, like, well, that means I'm going to have all the kids.
Right.
And you don't have to have all the kids. You can have one, or you can have none.
Yeah. Or 2.
Yeah. Or 2.
Do 2, Taylor. Come on. Do 2.
See, even you're being nosy in my how many kids I'm gonna have.
Why don't you want to have 2? Do you hate kids? You don't want to have a family?
Oh, that's what that means. If I don't want 2 kids.
Girl? Yeah, if you don't have them, that's basically what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
It's your agency. Don't worry. Don't want the Westbrook name to carry on. That's fine. You want to let it die with you? That's cool.
Look, I have 10 nieces and nephews already, so.
Oh, you're good then. Never mind.
That legacy's
don't have any
strong.
kids, please. There's too many already. Too many Westbrooks out in the world. And then lastly, man, what kind of, we do this at the last story. I think that this is interesting. Let's get into it, about an employment situation. You preface it, and then let's get into it.
Yeah, so a former VP at Omnis Global Technologies essentially alleges that after joining the company, was consistently pressured by the founder and other executives that were all members of the church. So it seems like one of those companies where, an LDS guy started it, and his, there's that, what is that called? The affinity fraud. We tend to assume like, well, if I want a good business partner, and, got to have a return missionary or whatever. And so there is this very present culture in this company that she alleges she was often pressured to join the church, to participate in LDS prayers at meals, and that a lot of the topic of discussion at different events and things like that were, things that were happening in the LDS church and things like that. And then it was coupled with also like misogyny and sexual harassment, like, so the men that are, wanting her to pray and join their church are also making inappropriate comments about her body and things like that. And just overall, a really just icky kind of situation.
So in Utah, and this probably applies less other places, but I think that we have to be super aware about it, because I can remember, so my ex-wife worked in a fairly large construction company here in Utah, and she was fairly high up in that company, and so people regarded her pretty highly. And like I remember one time at their summer company like barbecue, they had a prayer, which is fine. Right? You can have prayers and all that, but it is a delicate balance And then taking one step further, like most of the people at this particular company were LDS. And so what they would talk about on Monday was the sports games from the weekend. And then, oh, at church yesterday, you wouldn't believe what I thought or what I saw or what happened, or I got called this, or yeah, you're a bishop, I heard, or whatever. Right. And I don't ever think that we should apologize for who we are. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that members of the church are really bad at it in the state of Utah, maybe the Jello Belt entirely, about being aware how exclusionary they're being by what they're talking about.
Yeah. It is a tricky balance because the end of the article talks about like weighing the the um the former VP that left the company because she felt this pressure,
Mhm.
her right to be free from harassment in this scenario would likely outweigh the defendant's freedom to express their religion, because obviously you can go to work and talk about your
Yeah.
church, you can talk about what you did on Sunday. Like, freedom of religion does not mean you are not allowed to talk about your religion. That's that's the opposite. But it is a really tricky balance that I agree we are bad at. We use lingo that people who aren't in it don't know, and so that can be exclusionary. We tend to, a lot of times we probably like people at our work that share our beliefs more, and that crosses beyond religious beliefs.
Sure.
I probably like the guy that likes the same sports teams as me more than
Sure.
the other guy, and so on and so forth. But I do think it's something that we need to be careful of, especially as particularly Salt Lake City becomes less and less of an LDS community.
Sure.
It'll still be the predominant religion, but maybe that'll just happen naturally. More and more you won't be surrounded by members of your faith at work, which will present opportunities to in appropriate ways share your beliefs, but it also hopefully will kind of get rid of that exclusionary culture that maybe exists.
Yeah. What I'm not saying is it's never all right to be misogynistic or like, hey, if you want this promotion, why don't you go ahead and we're going to bring two guys over to your house and then they'll get you baptized and then you can, like, none of that stuff, right? I
course.
think it's sort of these micro things where you say something and people can maybe even just feel alienated, but you have enough of those times and enough of those things where people are able to get advancements ahead of you. Like, you can start to create narratives in your head if other language has been exclusionary towards you. So it sucks.
Yep.
I hope that members of the church weren't like, hey, you want to get a promotion? Join the church. And then also this filthy joke and proposition I want to make to you. Let's talk about that too. That blows my mind when it's that,
Yeah.
both sides of that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I mean, I've said it before here on the show, and I would say it again. I had a buddy who was in sales, and he swore to me, and I have no reason not to believe him, when he would wear a garment-looking T-shirt under his dress shirt to go and meet with people that he knew were members of the church. They would allow him in and talk to him, and then he would at other times have been in that same place, tried to talk to them, and they did not take his conversation. So I don't know.
It's an interesting shift, and I do want to reaffirm. I think there are really healthy ways to do it. The organization I work for, I think they have found like a really healthy way to allow people to have this expression. So they're called flight crews. So like we use Slack, business chatting app, whatever, and in it there's like little groups you can join called flight crews, and there's one for like music lovers and foodies and gamers and all these different things, and then there's one that's called interfaith, and people from all over the organization, because we're all over the country from different religions, they do like a monthly Zoom call, and just kind of, I think somebody presents something about their faith. They will, one person who is not LDS, shared her condolences about President Nelson's passing and the Michigan shooting, and it's a very healthy, community within the organization, but in a space where it's very obviously like, hey, if you want to join this,
Sure.
here it is.
Yeah.
And so it's not exclusionary. It's not imposing on other people. Certainly not, making it so people feel like they need to join it in order to advance or anything like that. So there's definitely healthier ways that we can do this and still be able to live our beliefs fully in all aspects of our lives, but without, driving other people out of companies and to take legal action because of how poorly we treated them.
Yeah, we'll kind of follow along with that story to see what it is. Our time has expired. We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
That if you were sick or otherwise afflicted, thereby rendered unable to listen this week, that you'll be able to listen next week.
And that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, go Tar Heels! Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, Debbie Wanless, the Tiger with a U, and Alpine Lakes Travel. We will be saving a seat for you
On the back row,
of the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row.